Welcome to the Driving Standard Podcast with your hosts, Matt Bonno.
They're like, that guy has flip-flops and a man bun. He does not work for Ferrari.
Mike Smith. Bryan Baca.
It was all show, no go.
Thanks for joining us today. This is the introduction episode where we introduce our podcast to you guys. This is going to be an automotive-focused podcast, so everything daily driving, race car news, very unprofessional opinions on any new car.
Very unprofessional.
Very unprofessional. At least we got the squeaking door out of the first edit.
Yeah.
So
that'll be for future episodes for folks to hear, maybe.
Yeah. So let's just dig into our history. I'm a hot rodder. I grew up drag racing in my teens. Took a car to the Bonno Salt Flats. Dabbled a little into road racing, but then college and debt and life took over. And so started the blog and wanted to get back into the automotive industry. And then, again, life took over. And here we are, trying to bring it back.
You have to be a grown-up all of a sudden. It's
all
kind
the
of
time.
a bummer.
All the time. Yep. So, did some street racing as well. Now that the statute of limitations is over on that, we can probably talk about that on the show. I think all of us here have a little bit of street scene background, and you have some more.
I spent most of my youth being dragged around the country by my dad to dirt track events, midgets, sprint cars, and anything open wheel on dirt, and I love it. So the best races to me in the world have nothing to do with Monte Carlo or the casino turn. They don't have anything to do with Indianapolis or Daytona. That's where I grew up. I grew up watching that stuff being dragged to the tracks and loving every minute of it. Anything automotive, anything racing. Yeah. I was never the gearhead. I was always the one that wanted to be in the seat and was excited by the sport itself and by racing. I finally got to race karts quite a bit in my 20s, and I fell in love on a level that it's hard to fall in love with anything like that again. So speed to me is what cars are all about. Like, I love the looks, but man, how quick does it turn a 60? That's what I want to know, right?
But I think that's what makes us actually a really good team, is we're all very different car guys, and we come from very different backgrounds. I was the speed junkie, much like you, but it was from the engine side. It was from doing modifications for race cars and trying to get that extra tenth of a second all the time, chasing it to no end, whereas you were like, just put me in now. Right. And then Bryan, coming from street scene as well, he has his own unique background, and you can tell by what he drives. He's definitely the one with high taste in the group.
Thanks.
Mr. Audi A3 Sport versus my covered wagon, aka the Jeep Wrangler,
or my work trucks,
and your F-250s that have 6,000 pounds in the bed at all times.
That's right. That's exactly right.
But that said, I mean, we are car guys. Like, I have a 1955 Chevy two-door in the garage. We have an RMR 500 Baja truck, maybe SUV that's going to be racing this year.
That's an awfully pretty name for an old Saturn.
Hold on. To give you an idea of how different car guys we are, that is a Saturn that has 340,000 miles on it and has been meticulously maintained.
Let me give the listeners an idea of what meticulously maintained when it gets over 300,000 miles. That means when stuff breaks, you replace it. And then you curse a bunch because you're tired of replacing all the things that go on a Saturn after 300,000
which hasn't been manufactured now in like 5 years. So, parts are really easy to find.
It's the last one on the road, kids.
If
you want to see it.
It is. It's a classic. How can I get rid of it now?
Of course, yeah.
Right.
It'll be on the auction block eventually.
I'll have to sign the dash like Shelby. Be like, hey, you bought the car from the driving standard.
Yes,
and,
that engine will keep going, man.
Well, I'm not going to make it something it's not. It is not an accurate MDX by any means, but it does share the 3.5-liter Honda motor.
So wait, it was a great engine that went into a piss-poor chassis, so it was exactly the opposite situation for Honda from their McLaren deal, where they decided to put, I don't know, perhaps the least reliable Formula One engine in history into a big-name multi-billion-dollar chassis.
If only that was McLaren's big issue. Was that.
Right. Do a whole other episode.
Yeah. Oh, we will.
McLaren,
Absolutely.
we will.
Absolutely. But Brian, you have toys as well. You have some cool stuff in the garage.
I have.
Yeah.
First car, 94 Honda Civic. Started the street scene. It was all show, no go. Still have a 108 horsepower engine sitting in that little guy. Built a Mini Cooper. Built a Honda Element. We had
Do you
that
still
guy
have
built
the
up.
Mini?
No, I wish I had that. Mini.
It is the biggest regret of his life.
That
Now,
is-
what year was your Mini?
2007. I have a 91 Talon TSI that we were looking to build, but
Yeah.
I don't know where we're going with that right now. It's just sitting in the garage.
You want to talk about a car that's hard to get parts for.
Yeah. Speaking of the Talon and Clips, that genre. So my first vehicle as a young married man, I did the responsible thing and I went and got a 1986 Nissan 200 SX Turbo. It was, I don't think it hit high marks on anything except a neat thing that 19-year-old guy likes.
Say, right? It was targeted towards a very
I loved
specific-
it because, I could actually light the rear tires up, if I wound that turbo up like a drum. And then I was shocked when that turbo went out. I was really disappointed somehow.
There's only 15,000 miles on the motor. I don't
I
understand.
don't know what I did.
Back in our day, I mean, it took $25,000 to get 700 horsepower, and then it caused other problems.
For
You're like,
sure.
oh, well, now I need to do an electric water pump. Well, now I got to cut the dash. Well,
Right.
now I got to do brakes. Now I got to do suspension. And, 485 horse, that was a lot. That was a ton of
My brother-in-law took a 79 Camaro, and I don't know what he got the horses up to, but I know that when he would try to drive me home from work in this death trap when I was like 15 years old, that had no dashboard, by the way. So, when he inevitably hit a bus stop, I was going to go into that dashboard and be turned into Swiss cheese. But he would try to hit the gas from a stoplight and would bark the tires without being able to control it. He had no hope. Now, not to jump into future episodes here, but we've got a Mustang on the market with a dual clutch. Any bozo can drive that thing and keep control of it.
Right.
Anybody.
Right. Anybody
You
can
know what
look
I'm saying?
good and go fast.
Yeah. And not only has horsepower gotten cheap, but sports handling has gotten cheap. You can buy a car that's relatively inexpensive by a reasonable American standard, and that thing will drive like a dream at a reasonable speed.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Can you imagine, so I rebuilt a 1966 Mustang, and a 74 Camaro, and can you imagine those cars, if you had a comfort mode? I mean, the things didn't have air conditioning.
Push buttons.
Right. Hold on. Yeah, let me just put this in comfort while we drive across.
Right. Yeah. The Audi knows what you're thinking when you drive it. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, You don't even have to put in inputs. It's
Yeah,
just,
I like the new Mercedes. The last 10 years, Mercedes has been your heart rate's high. Oh, you look sleepy. You should pull over.
Right. It was funny. The first time I got in a Mercedes rental, and I got in that car, and I was like, it was the first time I got to play with the KERS system.
Oh, yeah.
And we've talked about this off the air. We've talked about what an amazing, that was the first time in my adult life that I sort of went, oh, this is what racing brings to the road.
Right.
This cost millions for Formula One teams to work into their vehicles. Now it's trickled its way down to where my dumb gets to drive way too fast down an Arizona highway.
Then, since it's a Mercedes, it will flash a light at you and stop you before you hit somebody.
Right, of
Cause
course. And don't forget, it'll put you in eco mode at every stoplight and shut itself off.
Yeah, and we're
Please
over
disable
here.
that feature, auto manufacturers.
Yeah, please do. Nobody likes it.
Nobody likes it. I don't want my car to shut off. Look, I know we're all trying to save the environment. But if I'm driving a vehicle with a little bit of horsepower, just leave it on. You can just rest assured I'm not worried about it.
That's what's always got me is really idle is where you want to save the gas. At the lowest of the RPM.
How much is a starter?
Right.
Right. Right. No, this is the thing, right? Do you know how much energy it uses to start an engine back up?
Right.
why did that become the ecologically intelligent thing to do? I don't know.
You saw this for a long time. You know, like the older generations would be like, "Oh, make sure you downshift when coming to the light." And I'm like, "Hold on, transmission to stop a vehicle or brake pads at $30."
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And now you've got my 2018 F-250 4x4. That thing has a hill descent, which you can use anywhere. And it's really made for the four-wheel drive aspect, you know, so that if you were actually using it in a four-wheel drive situation. Don't ask me why you want something with 100-foot wheelbase to be an off-road vehicle. But
well, of course.
That's
everybody knows the longer the wheelbase, the better.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Hey, look, being high-centered is just fun.
That's often what I say is wrong with my Jeep, is the wheelbase is too short.
The wheelbase is too short. Of course.
It's for cornering.
Yeah.
Well,
I almost scared Bryan half to death when we took one of the turns over here.
I, for the record, am the only person in North America that hasn't been scared by you in that Jeep.
That's probably true.
Because I refuse to get in it.
He just doesn't get in it.
You know, that's actually a good idea. It's just don't ride with me. And then you don't have to worry anything to worry
That's right.
But I also don't have any accidents on my record.
Oh,
just keep that in mind.
I means you're going too slow.
I was looking for every handle possible.
Yeah.
Which in the Jeep is great because it's like everything is either a life-saving device of some kind.
No, so let's get into that. So we're all from different backgrounds, and we talked about that. We've been friends for a long time. But
friends?
So, look, you know, keep your enemies closer, whatever. But the thing with people have their automotive types, right? And Bryan, you strike me as the gearhead. Like, you like the mechanical side of it, but are you a lead pedal when you're out on the road? I mean,
depending on what car I'm in.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's everybody.
Yeah.
but yeah, you still like to punch it when you're out places. Now, what about 4x4 off-road stuff? Is that your?
We had an FJ Cruiser, and we took that four-wheeling, and I got the whole underside muddy, and
that was it.
That was it.
That
me being a car guy and detailing cars and stuff like that, I was like, this is going to take me freaking forever to get this clean.
Just so the listeners know, Bryan, if you ever see him, he's driving the shiniest car in the parking lot. I guarantee it.
It's amazing we can be in the same room. We're like,
I know. I'm just glad it's not on fire. Like, that's my thing. If I can roll in and just be like, oh, yeah, it's still, it looks good. Okay, cool.
No, that's my, it's like, hey, it still runs? Sweet. I'm kind of teased for being a lunatic because I state that myself. Like, I'm not safe to let me drive your car or ride your bike or whatever it happens to be. But I have like this self-governing thing where I'm like, oh, I'll keep it under control and it'll be fine. There's a precipice I pass over and then it's like, screw that. Let's see how fast this goes. And if the police here have vehicles faster than this one, and that's a stupid way to live.
You're like, well, I kind of got bored of 120. Let's see if I can do 140.
Right.
Growing up really early on street racing and doing that before going to drag racing, once that started, I started driving slower on the street. You see a lot of nasty stuff happen, and you get older and you're just kind of like, well, I can hit the drag strip if we're going to do that.
No, it really does.
You know. But that said, you put me out in the mountains in the right car, and maybe.
Right. Well, go-kart racing did that for me. Like, I used to be, like I said, I had a 200 SX, which is, barn burner. But it was a fast car for, some dumb kid. Yeah. And I was, again, statute of limitations. 130 is about what you can cap that thing out at and peg it. As I grew older and became an adult, I kind of went, man, I can't be doing that all the time, Still trying to kill myself on a snowboard.
I was going to say, you're older but not wiser.
No.
I was waiting for you to say wiser, and then I was going to say, no, hold on.
Wisdom is dumb, right? Something like that. But you get older and a little safer. But the thing that really helped me was when I started kart racing. Like, that immediately was like, well, got that out of my system. You know what I mean? The one thing I will say, though, is driving home from the racetrack is one of the most dangerous times you'll have in your life because all of a sudden you have a relative confusion over your speed.
Right. Velocity is in the same.
Yeah, you're not thinking about it. And one of the, I should have been killed in one of those stories, should have been killed driving a vehicle, was driving home from the racetrack.
Right.
I'd been doing, 70 miles an hour an inch from the ground in a cart for 2 hours. And then I get in my car to drive back on a dirt road and forget, there are real consequences.
Right. See, every time I left a racetrack, it was the opposite. So in the Camaro, I had a punched out 383 stroker with an 1100 CFM 4-barrel, and like 4 miles to the gallon. And so by the time I was done racing, it was like, well, now I got to drive it home, because I was teens, I didn't have a truck and a trailer and all this. I drove to the race, slightly deflated my tires, which were just bald street tires, and then drove home afterwards. So it was always an eco mood. It was always like, oh my gosh, because we were in Florida in the middle of nowhere. There was no gas station.
Yeah, makes sense.
I couldn't afford race fuel at the track at $5-6 a gallon. So it was 20 miles back, and I'm like, oh geez, now this Camaro's got to get 5 gallons out of it somehow. I'm not sure how this is going to work.
I would get into that groove and then get in my car and be like, ready to go. And maybe that's just a matter
But I
of
think
time.
everybody experiences that. Like, if you go on a road trip for 12 hours and you do 75, 80 on cruise control, and you take that first on-ramp, you're like, why is this guy not moving? And, he's doing 60, and I'm, used to doing 80. Why is he
driving the speed limit?
Jeez, it's just a McDonald's drive-thru.
I thought it was an oval. It was set up around the building that way, right?
This is lap 5 for me.
Yeah, no doubt. So the thing that's interesting to me about all of us is not just that we have a different driving background, but like you said, you got a bunch of toys, Brian. Mm-hmm. You got all the toys on the earth. I have none because I don't know.
Right. Here's the thing, about Mike. For those who don't know him, I am the worst influence. No, I'm the worst influence for him, because I will show up on a dirt bike or a 4-wheeler or something possibly stolen, and I'm like, hey, Mike, come on, hop in, let's take a photo drive. And his automatic response is, if I drive, I'm going to kill myself. And I'm like, well, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Right. So you could see that as homicidal out of Matt if you wanted to. Yes.
Wait, let me look up the statute of limitations on that before
Let's
this
see what happened.
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, so one of the first times we not met each other, but we had known each other for a while, but it was the first time we were in a situation where there was like a toy around.
Yeah.
And you brought that up, like, Mom, let's go ride this. Yeah. I don't know what it was, a 125 or something that our friend had out there.
I was probably the first 5 minutes I was on it and was like, oh, I got this. This will be fine. Yeah,
and I looked at it and went, oh yeah, that's a bunch of hospital bills, is what that is. I have very little control over myself. What are you going to do, right?
It's okay,
So, the next question I have for you guys is, so what's your next automotive move, project, toy? What's coming next?
Well, do you want to take that first? Because you're really the reason I say this is you're the most likely to make the move, because you're right on the cusp of doing this.
Right. So, I'm between the Ferrari and the AMG now.
Of course.
And that's it. Yeah.
Me too. That's exactly I was looking at. I was like, man.
No. So, being, responsible and whatnot has gotten old, and I'm ready to buy something to play with, but my theory on fast cars has always been, do you want to drive your fast car, or do you want to be that guy that puts it in the garage and worries about his $80,000 vehicle getting scratched or rain? I didn't want to be that guy, right? So originally I was like, I want to buy something like a WRX STI, right?
Great choice.
To be that guy. Yeah. But
with a monster sticker on it.
Yeah, with a monster logo, right? Yeah. Well, it's either that or the Colin McRae. You don't diverge from that. But
it matches the back tattoo. Yeah. That's why.
Of course,
the lower back
the
tattoo
lower back
Mike
tattoo.
has.
Yes.
He has the Subaru stars just going right over right over his butt.
Don't tell them how you know that.
Well, so we've been friends long enough, I guess. It's inevitable.
But so, I've been looking at different stuff to buy, and I've got to have like a daily driver to get back and forth to work. So I'm going to do the intelligent thing and get myself a Veloster N with a performance package, because bang for your buck, looking at it, that thing looks like a lot of fun.
It's amazing.
And it looks like I can beat the tar out of it, and I won't be like, oh my God, there goes a child's tuition to college.
Right. Well, it goes back to the old adage of, is it better to drive a fast car slow or a slow car fast?
Right.
Not saying that the Velociraptor's a slow car by any means, but
it's slow compared to a Mustang, Shelby.
Yeah, of course. But
I was going to say, like you said before, it's fun to drive a slow car fast.
Absolutely.
Like, I got my Honda Civic that's 108 horsepower, and you get that thing up there, and you're like, yeah, I'm flying in this
Right.
thing,
Yeah. What's cool about Bryan's Civic is it's just decked out. I mean, it's a time capsule. Like, you look at it, and it's like 2001,
Right.
And we kind of talked about earlier about the joke of he modded it before Fast and Furious.
Before the movie
Before the movie. That's not a thing anymore.
And he, but he makes sure everybody knows that. That's how he opens conversations, which I kind of find odd.
Yeah, he's like, this
Hi,
is
my
my
name's
Civic.
Brian, and I modded my Civic.
I modded my
Fast
Civic
and
before.
Furious
It's on his
movies.
business card.
Yeah.
So, hey, ladies.
Oh, that's funny.
But
So-
that's cool.
I mean, is the Velociraptor something to modify? Are you going to go that route?
Probably not. So, like we discussed earlier, I'm not the gearhead.
Right.
So I'm not going to let you get a hold of it, and I'm not going to let Brian get a hold of it. Because now, who knows what we do for the show? But
I
initially,
have ideas.
I'm sure you do. I'm sure you do, and they all involve my pocket. So
I'm
I
good
don't
at spending
really.
other people's money.
Yeah,
That's what's on my business card.
But to be fair, I'll probably get bored with it after a little while. And, the wife's like, well, you need something to drive back and forth to work. And that's the excuse I'm using. Like, yeah, I do. I need something to drive back and forth to work.
What's funny is she's the one in this scenario that's like, you need something to drive back and forth. Usually it's the husband, like, oh, well, the Subaru STI is a great choice because it fits for. I can take my business partners and colleagues to
She
dinner.
fought with it for a little while.
Yeah.
But now she's like, I definitely need something to drive. Because currently, right now, and you guys are all going to be jealous. Everybody listening, and you guys are going to be jealous. Right now, I'm driving a 2011 Golf Ball. It has hail damage on a level that nobody should be driving a vehicle like that with that many pockmarks in it. It's got no left mirror, no left turn signal. The whole thing's destroyed on the left side.
And it's white, which
And
really
it's
adds
white.
to it. And
It's
there's
white.
a Titleist sticker across the front.
Yes,
of it.
yeah,
So
exactly.
it's sponsored
Exactly.
by.
So I'm trying to get ready to sell, but
Wow,
yeah,
you're really
endeavors.
selling our listeners on
So if
buying
any of you
this
guys are
vehicle.
looking for a bombed out 2011 Traverse for a reasonable price,
email Mike at
Mike
thedrivingstandard.com.
at thedrivingstandard.com.
Also try to convince him to not buy a Velociraptor. Let's
Oh,
see what you come up with, right? There might
no.
be something better.
No.
What's best is everyone's going to recommend something outside the price point. They're going to be like, oh, well, of course you should buy a GTR.
Yeah, I don't know why you don't have a GTR, you sissy
That's the
pants.
obvious choice, you idiot.
It's like, well, you can donate to the show. I'll buy a GTR or something.
Right. But you bring up a good point about the hail damage. We are based out in Colorado, which is going to be awesome for the show because we'll be able to take some cars to high elevation testing. The mountains are in our backyard. We'll be able to
Wait till you see a Vet C8 in the snow. That's going to be cool.
Yeah,
That's
with
gonna be
mud
way
tires.
Yeah, with my tires.
Blizzard.
They're lifted.
Yeah. I don't know. If you look at the back of that thing, I don't think you need a lift kit. It already has a lift kit.
Yeah,
on
it's
it.
already
Jesus.
got plenty of elevation on the back
right.
end there.
Well,
Things
we'll
like
talk
a
about
ski
that.
jump.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in
Ski
the next,
jump. I
the
like
next
that.
episode. Yeah, that's
sure.
that's coming. If we start talking about the Corvette now, this will be a 5-hour show.
Yeah, we've already had a couple of conversations that we had to cut short because that car comes up. It's a firebrand. I'll give them that. Like everybody's excited. Love, hate.
They're going to be all over it.
It's love. I see zero hate for the Z8.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: what people have to remember, it's a brochure car. We have no real life numbers on any of this.
No, and they're not going to release anything realistic.
Yep.
But speaking of that, our first quote unquote real episode will focus quite a bit on that vehicle and our controversial feelings on it.
And
Again, we're not professionals here, so
we're going to try our best to separate the C8 and the Supra in that conversation.
Right.
And I know normally they shouldn't be compared side by side, but they're within like 10,000 on their price. So it's the obvious. You see the internet, everyone's like, "We'll just buy a C8."
Well, the
there's
C8's put itself in that position where it's going to be compared to all kinds of other vehicles now. It's mid-range.
We're going down that road. Man.
Yeah,
We cannot talk
sorry.
about this.
All right,
This is the hardest
tune
part.
in next time for that.
Yeah.
But, you know, as far as we go, we're a bunch of car fans and a bunch of motorsports fans. And that's what this is going to be about.
What I love is the different backgrounds. Like, you know, I'm hot rod. I consider Bryan to be more gadget. I mean, he's like, I can chip this, you know. Yeah. And Mike is just like, give me something fast. So
yeah,
it's kind
give
of cool.
me something to drive.
It's a good team.
I love it. So speaking of chip, did that whatever happened with that mod? What's going on with that car? You know, at one point
the Talon.
The Talon was going to hit the road, and it was going to be the bomb. And you guys had your backwards hats on. It was going to be Beastie Boys circa 1997.
Yeah. First off, it was a visor. Get it right.
Yeah,
it was
upside down visor.
Yeah, that's right. There's pictures of that out there, I'm sure.
Puka
Jinkos.
shells.
Yeah.
Jinkos.
Sure.
Yeah.
Wallet chains.
I had my Sandstorm CD ready to go.
Oh my gosh, he busts it out.
Yep.
Well, hey, just also so the listeners know, Bryan's an underground DJ, so he spins some house.
Way underground.
Way underground.
Yeah.
Dark stuff you guys don't know about.
That's the new trend. It's gothic house.
Yeah.
It's like I'm in a really like intense mood, but it's all negative.
Right. You know. And it's followed up by pitchfork synth right after that. It's really...
but then they just sit on the couch and they don't really dance because
they're
depressed.
Yeah.
No. So Bryan, you should probably take that conversation.
We've done quite a bit of work to it. Found out there was a lot more issues with it than we seen when we got it. It runs. We had to do a Impala mass airflow conversion on it with this little box that's you go in and they have to tune everything by hand. So right now we're just kind of waiting on a wideband O2 to install, and then we get to fine tune it. But it starts, it idles, it runs. I can drive it around the block.
It builds boost, which was, it wasn't building boost when you got involved into it. It's a cool car.
Yeah. Oh no. Like so back to my 86 200 SX. So by the time I owned the 86 200 SX, I don't want to date myself here too much, but it had been on the market about 10 years. Okay. And everybody was driving a Talon or an Eclipse. And that was when I learned, like, oh, there's some modern technology here that's blowing my doors off, Yeah. So, but that modern technology comes with that. And it's always interesting to me to hear guys talk about nightmares of trying to fix anything electronic.
Yeah, you had an OBD1 system, now everything's on OBD2. But it's all a lot of drive-by-wire stuff for back in the day. That wasn't the case, especially with the OBD1 stuff. You couldn't plug a laptop in and just look at all your air-fuel ratio and all that stuff.
Right.
Well, I forgot where I was going with that. Thanks. It just took me off a whole different...
That's all right.
I started going in my head of, hold up.
Let me think back on this. And that is... go ahead.
You bring up a good point, though. When you talk about how it's blowing your doors off, think about this. That car weighed 3,100 pounds, which is like four-door sedan weight these days.
Right.
And did 200 horsepower. It had 200 horsepower. That's like nothing by today's standards, though.
Right.
So back then, that was a fast car.
Of course.
Yeah,
and
this is a car.
Yeah. That's what we were just talking about.
Yep.
It's like, God, man. It's just... Well, I mean, what are we going to be driving in 10 years? First of all, it'll be silent because it'll all be electric.
And we won't be driving. It will just be self-driving.
Yeah. Well, we'll be part of the board or whatever. You'll plug in your chip. It'll take you to work.
Yeah.
Computer,
where's
we're
my
gonna race
USB
this
cable
guy.
to my head? Yes, I want to race. Let me go to iwantaracethisguy.com and we'll set up a bracket race in the street here. And we'll both plug our heads into the interface.
Well, we'll talk about iRacing. I think, like I said, 2 shows from now, we're going to bring in an SCCA trainer. He takes people around to get their race license around tracks, and he's going to come in. We're going to pick his brain about where racing's going and where car driving's going.
I'm going to try to pilfer free lessons off of him, so stay tuned for that. I am a little bit worried about suddenly having a fun car to drive on the road because I haven't had anything that I really want to drive and play with for a while. So
my hope is that like the center console is just a little to the left, like in some of the old Italian cars where you almost could not touch the gas pedal if you were over 110 pounds. That's what my
No, this one you
pretty
pretty much have to drive from the back seat, but they
Yeah.
built that into it. But
Seat
the interesting
in air
thing is,
quotes,
yeah,
right.
yeah, it's a 3-door car.
Yeah.
But the gear shift is apparently, according to some, very interfered with by the console. So we'll see how that works.
It can't be as worse. And I think the Element was like this. It had a gear shift up on the dash.
Yeah,
Like-
actually,
What,
it
did they
was
go
pretty
back to the
comfortable.
70s?
No, it wasn't like column shift, but it was like they had a floor shifter, but on the dash. Yeah.
What?
It was,
Wait, what?
yeah.
You'll have to pull up a photo.
This is
Yeah.
like carpal tunnel syndrome waiting
No,
to
it
happen.
was,
Well, it was
actually pretty
automatic.
cool. No, mine was a manual.
Was it really?
Yeah,
What?
yeah, it was a manual. It was
Okay,
awesome.
folks, I'm learning something
All-wheel
right
drive.
now. I did not know this.
I didn't know it was a manual.
Yeah, it was manual. It was pretty funny. Actually, it was comfortable, except you didn't really have an elbow rest.
Comfortable.
It was-
Wait, so driving in traffic, you had to do this the
No,
whole
it
time?
was-
But I'm putting
it
my
was in a
hand up in
comfortable
the air,
spot.
like in front of my face.
It's like the
people, 'cause
old
you
hot
can't see
rod
this.
like shifter that's above the windshield on a
Right.
T-bucket.
Rat rod.
Right.
Yeah, you stick your head out the sunroof, see down the track.
No, it
Yeah,
was
pull up a
actually-
photo for him. So
Yeah.
you
It
see
was
what
actually pretty comfortable.
Pretty. I'm baffled by this, and you calling it comfortable makes me like super skeptical as to what you think is comfortable in life. Because holding my hand in the air
For-
to shift anything, that sounds horrible.
stop and go traffic.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
LA.
gosh, I can't feel my fingertips anymore.
Exactly. This is going numb. This is wonderful.
They're
and
all
now
automatics.
Brian's searching his
He
laptop.
had the only
hopelessly.
manual one.
Yeah, he had. It was modded.
It
It was
wasn't.
modded.
Honda accidentally let it go through the assembly line.
Whoops.
Is that
was
a
a-
S2000
was a-
shifter?
Yeah. This was a terrible prototype that we forgot about. Give it to that Bryan guy. He'll take it. He likes everything.
Rare. Modded before Fast and
It's kind of
Furious.
hard to see.
What
See how
on
the dash
God's
comes down?
green earth, dude? Have you seen this?
Yeah. I was the one who brought it up
Holy
just now,
cow.
in case
Yeah.
you forgot.
It was actually pretty cool.
It was actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Was there a
Wasn't
place to rest your elbow?
bad. They were like captain's chairs. Had little
Did you have armrest?
armrest on it.
Fold out.
So you,
armrest?
Yeah.
so you could put your arm on the armrest and shift, or was
Just
it?
shift, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You don't have this thing anymore?
No, I still have the carbon fiber hood from it though.
Why
We
don't
had-
you have it anymore?
we had it
Because it sucks
lowered.
to shift a car from your forehead?
No, we thought we were having twins, so
Oh.
we it only sat 4 people.
Oh, right.
They already had a kid.
Yeah.
Just so if you're doing the math, you're not like, wait, hold on.
Yeah, wait a minute. Wait, we had one kid.
You
And we
already
thought
had
we were
a
having twins, so
Right.
traded in for an FJ Cruiser.
FJ Cruiser. Yeah, FJ Cruiser is one I wish I had.
They're pretty cool.
That's what I wanted to get instead of my wife's Jeep Renegade that I bought.
Now, on the
Fiat.
Veloster end,
Talk
it
your
is not
crap.
a symmetrical car.
What do you mean?
The pillars are not the same,
No, of course.
left and right.
Right. Right. But, yeah, well, I mean,
I'm
look,
just curious, does that bother you at all? Is it because like Kia with the Soul, like they have that wraparound back window? It was
did you just compare a Kia Soul
I did.
to a Veloster N?
because
Yeah, I don't-
wasn't that like one of the first ones
I
where
don't
you
consider
looked?
that a car. So, like,
It's a toaster with,
it's
a,
all right.
with a combustion engine.
Yeah. Like, let's ask Matt what his favorite racetracks are.
Yeah, they're all symmetrical. No, they're
No,
not. Not at
no.
all.
What your
Road
favorite road
Atlanta.
tracks? I'm getting here.
Road Atlanta is without a doubt
Okay,
my most favorite.
what track did we race on Gran Turismo Sport for several hours? Nürburgring. What does the Veloster N stand for?
Yeah, Nürburgring.
Nürburgring. Yeah, so make
Right.
fun of my Veloster N. That's
How
right.
many times are you going to take it to the Nürburgring? Between now and
Depends
next,
on how well this podcast
yeah,
does.
right. Yeah, if you want to fund us or send
Yes,
Mike to the
I'll fly
Nürburgring just to
overseas.
spite me.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
People hate Matt. Everybody that hates Matt out there, send me money to go to the
That's right.
Nürburgring in a Veloster N. Come on. Spit it out.
Yeah.
Let's get on with it.
So other segments you can expect as the show progresses. One is bad car advice. If you guys have a problem, write us. You know, write Bryan at thedrivingstandard.com, Mike at drivingstandard.com, and myself, Matt. we'll be glad to help you. And so I'd like to present this right now, since we don't have any submissions yet, but I need some help from you guys.
Mm-hmm.
So the RMR 500 car, which is the Rocky Mountain Rambler, coming up next month, actually. Right. For those who don't know, it's a 300-mile race through Colorado. It's a lot like the 24 Hours of Lemons, where the car can't be worth more than $500, and it needs to, be equally as goofy as it is an actual attempt at a race car.
Yeah.
So the problem with my RMR 500 vehicle right now is I have
a problem. You like that? How he's like, there's a problem.
Yeah. Well, it's the first one.
Count the problems.
It's the first one in 340,000 miles. I just want to.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'll go back through my text history. We'll see how many problems that car
just because the hatch doesn't open or stay open.
Right.
No. So the problem right now, this month's problem, I guess I should say, the problem of the week, is that overdrive. I only have it every once in a while. Mm-hmm. What do you guys recommend I do?
Just leave it in first.
Leave it in first.
Yeah.
Let it scream. What gear are you in?
Yeah. So we're going to be cheating at the RMR this year. I don't, hopefully this will air. Not a lot of people will hear it right away. It'll kind of build momentum. But we're going to be cheating this year. We're going to bring a tow truck. So I don't think the overdrive's going to matter.
No.
So, depends on how fast that tow truck goes, really.
Yeah.
So
that's true. They said the vehicle had to cost less than $500. Right. The tow truck, though.
The flatbed that you've got it on can be supercharged. Nobody cares.
Right. Back in the Bonneville Salt Flats, they have pusher cars because you have no gear, no first gear in a high-speed car. We're going to have the opposite. We're going to have a puller car, which will be like a $45,000, Jeep.
Right.
That can take us everywhere. And then the car we're in is only worth $500.
Yeah. But we'll have like a camera on the dashboard mounted so that it's like,
we're going to pull faces.
And you're driving hard.
We're going to pull faces the whole time.
Yeah.
It's like,
have a green screen behind us. We don't even need to do this thing. We can just have a green screen. It'll be fine. Yeah. It's no problem.
Yeah, just like loop 15 seconds of footage.
Yeah.
I think it's like a 15-hour race.
You bringing up pusher cars just reminded me of an incredible story. And I said earlier that, a lot of my background was growing up around dirt track racing. Well, in dirt track, midgets, sprint cars, they have to be pushed off. They don't have, they don't start it. So we were at the Belleville Midget Nationals one year, okay? And the Belleville Midget Nationals, it's defunct now, but it was, in my opinion, the greatest spectacle in motorsport because those cars were going way too fast on way too big a track sideways. It was crazy to watch. One year they're coming out for the A-Main Saturday night feature, and they got to push all the cars to a start, and one of the first four guys in the field is getting pushed off. And the dude that's driving the Jeep pushing him off thinks he got started and starts to pull off and turn and drives right over the left rear of one of the top four cars in the field, destroys it before he can ever hit the starting line. Wow. You talk about a bad beat in motorsports. Yeah. You don't even make it to the starting line before the push truck driver ends your night.
Oh, man.
I can't imagine. The Bonneville Salt Flats would be even worse.
If you've ever seen like the Texas Mile or here in Colorado, that we have the airstrip attack.
Sure.
You have this weird balance of like you have an immense line that you have to queue in before you get onto the track, and so in the Salt Flats the same way. You're in the middle of a desert, so it's just this long queue and the high heat, and you need your oil to be up to temp, but you don't want your engine to be up hot, and so it's like this just weird balance of like pushing this 3,500-pound car up to this finish line or the start line for it to then go 200 miles an hour.
Right.
It looks like you're just breaking down and then you end up breaking a record. It's a whole different.
So here's the thing. You've done Bonneville. And I've always, racing to me and speed in general is about the control at speed, the corners, if you will, and the competition. I love a lot of European motorsport. What I hate about European motorsport is that there's no competition between the drivers.
Yeah.
Even in rally, the rally, obviously the drivers are the key component, but they're not head-to-head, side-by-side, lap after lap, right? Formula One, they've done everything they can to eliminate that.
No, you can't pass in Formula One
anymore.
anymore.
Let's not get onto that.
We will.
But yeah,
Got a
not
couple
right
shows
now.
we will.
You get me going for a couple of hours on Formula One. But what I've always wondered about that experience, especially, even compared to quarter-mile drag strip, do you get a sense of the speed? Does it even feel like the rush of high-speed motorsport? Is it more just, I'm going this fast and I know it?
It's a weird, because you have no visual aid. You have no buildings. You don't have advertising that you're passing on, like on a drag strip. You have advertisements that just line the entire track. You have stands and all these little reference points that don't exist at the salt flats. You have cones every so many 1,000 feet. It's just non-existent.
Sounds like landing a space shuttle more than racing a car.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I've never done it.
It's a weird sensation, because you definitely know you're going fast. I don't think, in my case, I realized how fast I was going until you make a tiny adjustment, whether that's with the steering wheel or you had a stop at the end of the course, and you've been going so quick and for so long that when you come to a stop, you realize 3,500 pounds does not stop easy.
It's like the whole world comes back
sand.
To you.
Right?
I'm moving.
Yeah, the surface of the salt flat has a lot to do with it. You have a hard level, almost like concrete, and then it's like somebody sprinkled sand on top. But it's not like driving through sand. It's not like driving through concrete. It's a weird mix. And I remember the first run that I did, I think I ended up doing 15 runs total. That first run, being out there and getting this sensation, of course I wasn't going full throttle. I was just see what the car can do, make sure it runs right, see how it handles, and pass through the first speed trap. Boom, mileage was recorded. And then it's immediately get on the brakes. Well, the problem with getting on the brakes on the salt flats, that's how you can start to spin out.
Right.
You brake, not even locking up your brakes, but just braking too quickly. You start shifting your momentum. All the speed goes to the front of your car.
Right.
It's almost like your steering changes. You have these opposite reactions, and so the back end is now wanting to come out. And in my case, you're talking a 3,400 to 3,600 pound car. So I was very worried about coming to a stop, and everyone else out there was running new cars. I was probably one of the older ones out there in my class. And I remember getting to the end and curving around and coming back to one of the officials that was there, and he's like, "How'd it go?" And I was like, "Phew, that stopping distance kind of short, huh?" And he's just like, "No, that's how we do it every year."
Yeah. But it's your first time.
It was my first time, and your sense of speed comes to you at the end. It doesn't necessarily you're going fast, but the numbers for me really didn't have a bearing. Because there's just no reference point to any of it. And then you're like, oh, okay, I passed through the trap. I now need to stop this thing. And
sure. But the difference between someone that can continue to do that at a high level and someone that can't is usually a level of what happens when the mistake happens and you face the consequences? Right. Do you come back after that? And that's, I watched that in kart racing. Somebody going, faster than they had ever gone before, and every time they'd ever been on the track, everything was under control. And then they were in a race, and the throttle started.
Right.
And, that we never saw them at the track again because it was a real awakening all of a sudden to go off the track and all of a sudden see, I really am moving.
Right.
And you don't get that. And that's what I was curious about. So
yeah,
that's interesting.
It's a different speed.
Right.
In the eighth. So I grew up doing the 8th mile drag strip, not a quarter mile, and it was just all as fast as humanly possible, as quick as you could. And in the salt flats, there's such a level of almost like a third dimension to it of okay, I can't leave the line too quick because I'll spin. I can't move the wheel too much left and right too quickly because I'll spin. Are the tires going to hang tight?
It's literally just trying to keep that thing on a rail to the finish line.
It is.
And not screw it up.
One thing I do vividly remember is if you've ever seen World's Fastest Indian, they have it's about Burt Monroe. He was a motorcycle driver who set a land speed record. And in the movie, they have a black line that's in the center, and that's your guideline for the racetrack. Well, in the class I was running in, there's not a single black line that you follow. You have a lane. So there's a black line, and they're probably a pretty solid 60, 70 feet apart. I mean,
oh, really?
Very large.
Wow.
And I kind of thought at that time, well, that's kind of overkill. Maybe they're just so you can find your groove, so you're not always running in the same tire tracks as somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And it didn't really click to me until after run 2 or 3 that the Camaro itself at that high speed was bouncing about 20 feet left, right,
Holy crap.
left. And so I was not doing a straight line. Now the steering wheel was straight.
Brian's shaking his head right now like, you guys are idiots. Why would you do this?
The steering wheel is straight, but you have to think, when you add that high of a speed into it and that level of just small adjustments.
And a car that was never designed for this, by the way. You're driving a vehicle that was not.
If your alignment is 0.5 points out, maybe one's toe out or toe in, or your camber's off, all that is now magnified. You're used to driving on the highway where you just correct your steering wheel a little bit, and you as drivers, you just make these automatic changes in your head, and you're just like, oh, I'm going to hold the wheel here for this turn. And all that, when you get over 100, 110, 120, 130, all that magnifies at a different rate to where you're just going side to side and swaying.
Yeah.
And then you got to bring that big tank to a stop, Yeah.
It is different when you watch, you ever watch a high-speed chase on TV? And you see that dude wipe out, and you're like, well, what's wrong with you? Well, have you ever driven like a 1996 Corvette at 140 miles an hour?
Right.
It's a little tougher to keep on the road than you think.
I think one of my favorite stories was when the S2000 came out. It had such a high VTEC red line that, like, you'd see these guys out at the street racing scene, and they'd be in their brand new S2000, and you're all jealous. And, right. And then a month goes by and you don't see them, and it's like, what happened? And they come back and they're in something else, and it's like they went into a turn, VTEC kicked in, and that back end just slipped. Just went right out from underneath them, and they've never done that before. They never experienced that. And
Yeah. It's the Abu Dhabi graveyard thing.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Well,
you've ever looked that up? Folks, look that up. The Abu Dhabi graveyard of cars. Those guys make so much money, they just destroy a Porsche and then call the dealership and get another one.
Right.
And they're all just laying aside the highway.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? All right, what's our next topic?
Next segment that we're going to do, and we're going to try to do these both of these segments every week. So, bad car advice, which so far is just don't drive out of first gear.
Right. Or use a tow truck. Come on.
Or use a tow truck.
Be smart.
Yeah. The other segment I'm going to just talk about while Mike's not paying attention is, since we have all this plethora of just old car mags, it's cool to look back, especially in the early 90s, and see what the car mags or people or advertisements got wrong at the time.
Sure.
And so, everybody tries to predict the future. We're going to try to do that on the show, and we're going to be just definitely wrong.
No, I'm right about everything. So,
yeah, well,
as long as we got that out there.
That's being edited out as well. Yeah. All right, so this one is a January 1995 automobile magazine, and they interviewed Jim Harbour, who was an executive for Chrysler. Really looked at how to do things more efficiently. Automobile asked him, is Detroit out of the woods for good? His response was, you're going to have a hard time seeing these car companies ever lose money again. As we know, 10 years later, that was not the case. In Jim Harbour's defense, just so people know the history of this, he separated from Chrysler, and they didn't want anything to do with his manufacturing practices and his running lean and being more efficient and building a better car.
Yeah, that is a brutal quote. Oof.
manufacturing and where it's going, and they're visionary, but it always falls short to what the shares are worth and what the executives can take home. And
right.
we're going to talk about that. How especially now marketing departments are building cars. Ferrari California being the prime example.
Yeah. You're building cars to your consumer base, almost like that lesson was taught by us, the consumer, right?
Let's be honest. Marketing departments have always been a part of the car building process. That's never gone away. Mm-hmm. Traditionally, their role was, all right, we like cars shaped like this. We like these features. And then all of a sudden, it's kind of like what we're doing now with celebrity singers. It's not good enough if they have a good voice. No. They have to be attractive.
Gotta have the attitude. Well, we do that with politics. We do it with everything.
Right, we do it with everything. And so now marketing departments can sell a car that it's just like manufacturing a box office movie. Right. We have these 10 elements we need to hit, and if we do all that, we're going to sell this much, we're going to have this much in recall, and at the end of the day, we'll walk away with a profit.
Now, uninformed statement of the night. The Civic Type R, to me, is that car, right? Because you look at that car, and it's like, was this a video game?
Yeah.
Come on, look at that thing, man. That's like every 22-year-old's, damn, that's a cool-looking car.
Of course.
Right? And its performance specs are kind of the same way. It's like, damn, that thing hits it hits those spots that you want to hit. But it's like, did anybody really sit? You can't tell me. Now, I'm going to make a statement here that may or may not be, blasphemous. That car's ugly as hell. That's one of the.
See, you two feel that way, and I'm on the other side.
You're trying to pretend to be under 30. We gotcha.
Yeah, I am.
I get it.
I'm trying.
I hear you dragging that horse.
Having a quarter life crisis.
But adults, we hate that car.
That's like the biggest Civic I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And then
it's like welcome to your new Corolla with some sharp angles.
It's got a huge hood that looks like a big forehead sticking out.
Just heinous. But regardless, here, again, Mike at the Driving Standard, just
Mike at the Driving Standard.
Send me your hate mail and I'll send you back videos of me just,
Actually, you bring up a good point. I don't mean to interrupt, but Bryan at the drivingstandard.com, that is BRY. Not BRI.
At the Driving Standard.
That'd be funny.
Correct.
And
there's some guy.
It's all being returned, and they're like, I don't understand. Bryan never checks it.
He's such an asshole. Damn thing. Jesus.
Matt and Mike, who aren't as important, they always email back because they have nothing better to do. But
Bryan, I'm the only one that gets fan mail. You and I will just get the.
Can you tell Bryan because he's not answering his email? Can you pass this along to Bryan?
Right. And to that point, the automobile industry is going that way.
I agree. Here's the thing: that's what's going to keep cars cheaper, but they're safer than they've ever been. They're more fuel efficient. You can literally crash these cars into each other and walk away, and that's never been done before. Right. But the problem with that means the R&D costs are huge. And so if they can streamline this, if they can build it in a simulator and know before they ever manufacture one part, this part's not going to work. Right. Great. That's what's going to keep those cars priced down because I'm telling you, these car companies are spending a fortune on manufacturing.
Well, motorsports is doing the same thing, right? That's why they have esports drivers. They're hiring them to drive the cars for the same reason.
There is a truth to what I'm saying about the marketing departments being involved because look at how Ferrari's naming their cars. And I have no basis for this. I haven't talked to anybody.
I can't afford a Ferrari, so I'm not paying much attention.
Right. Well, side note, they're suing a guy. It's hilarious. They're suing a guy who's posting photos of his Ferrari on Instagram. He's a designer, and he's posting just champagne bottles and Nike shoes and naked girls, and they're suing him because they say it's hurting their brand. And it's like, do you not know who you've been marketing to for the last 10, 15 years?
No, I don't think they do.
Yeah.
No, this is a thing. I think they think they're still marketing to the erudite, the wealthy man, right?
You and I talked about this. We talked, you look at Ferrari and you go to Harvard, you buy a Ferrari, and then, the guy that you trust to invest your money after you've graduated Harvard, he's buying the Lamborghini because he's blowing it on coke and, he's living his life off of yours.
Yeah.
You did everything right.
right.
Your dad's a governor, and you
right.
buy a Ferrari because that's what proper, rich kids do. That
Here
Lamborghini crowd has gone to the Ferrari, I think, a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
But here, I just want to say, I don't know anything. This is not an official statement, but look at how they're naming.
You don't have to worry about it. Nobody's going to sue you for your insider information.
They're like, that guy has flip-flops and a man bun. He does not work for Ferrari. Not to spoiler for the next show, I feel like the C8 has a lot of that going on.
I'm not even going to get into it. I've got my opinions on that car are so like. So I'll admit to the Viper being my favorite car.
Yeah.
Growing up in my 20s,
of course,
that was the car. Right?
Yeah,
because I was an adult. Don't shake your head.
No, Viper was a great car.
That car is amazing.
I love the Dodge
It's
Viper.
a hog, but that car is amazing.
It's a Frankenstein of cars.
Yeah, but you saw a lot of those out here for some reason.
I did a lot
in
in South Florida at the time. Like
there's a lot of everything in South Florida.
Yeah, you'd be at a light.
Yeah. There's a lot of meth in South Florida. I wouldn't call it a great place to be.
You'd be in like Orlando or Miami, and you'd be in one of 6 of the Hennessy Venom 500s in gold.
Yeah.
And then number 2 would just randomly pull up next to you, and you're like, wait, hold on. What number is yours? There's only 6 of these.
What's the point of being that guy? Like, look at my super fancy. Dude, you're driving the same car I'm driving. Right. And then they both crashed him 30 yards later because they had no idea how to handle that kind of horsepower in a
I will say, I've talked to... Katie and I were car show judges for a little bit, for Corvettes specifically.
Yeah. Katie is a sales representative for our company.
She's also my wife. So.
Yeah. Whoops.
Yeah, just a heads up.
Edit that out.
She does not have an email because I know she would get all the emails. People would be like, hey, are you single?
Yeah, exactly.
I know you're married, but are you single?
Let's put the girls' profiles up and see how fast the show rises.
Yeah. We'd all of a sudden have like all the sponsors too.
Exactly. Jesus.
But I will say, talking with a lot of Corvette owners, like everyone's been, super nice and want to talk about the Corvettes, but Viper guys are like, oh, you want to get in? Here, let me fire it up for you. Oh, rev it. This is the coolest. You're like, oh man, these guys are great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're a Viper driver out there and you're ruining the brand.
Yeah.
It's like Ferrari. We're going to start just pulling people off.
I will still drive your car. Yeah. If you
let us sit in it and we'll rev the nuts out of it.
Mike at the Driving Standard, drive my Viper. Yeah, I'm on it.
I love how Viper, just a quick tidbit, like, they did the side exhaust, which would just like burn the out of your leg.
Right.
And then they're like, okay, we'll put it out the back. Well, then it started catching a car on fire, and they're like, I don't know what we do with it now. Let's just cut it off.
They should have. The thing with a lot of quote unquote supercars or exotics, whatever you want to call them, right? There's this like, don't be what you are, right? So if people are like, oh my god, this car is, it's burning my leg when I get it. Well, yeah. That's a fast car.
Because you're not supposed to stand outside of it. You're supposed to drive it, you idiot.
Don't get out on the highway to do your Instagram post.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. Maybe Corvette can.
Pants.
Maybe the C8 can implement something where like it, kills all the idiot drivers.
C8 can implement being a freaking European mid-engine sports car.
I do feel like we're the only car show right now that is not overly thrilled about the C8.
I can't believe that. And I agree with you because I've watched some other people's content on this, and the on the C8 is just shocking. It's like, dude, come on.
And I'm just going to say this right now. Like, there's a lot of people, I guarantee you, who are listening to this saying, yeah, but you haven't driven it yet. Nobody has. Okay?
Nobody's driven it.
Like, this fanboyism that's happening is just based off of, what is being written.
You know what you sound like if you're like, oh, the C8's going to be
I thought you were talking about me.
Oh, the C8's going to be...
I was like an old angry guy.
No, you're 50 now.
Yeah.
But you know what it sounds like when you see that guy, like, duh, this guy's going to pay the burn. You sound like a guy that plays Xbox and is pissed off at other people that talk shit about it,
Well, the one I built on Forza was, shut up.
It's like, yeah, exactly.
Right. It handled great on Forza.
Oh, yeah, it handled great on Forza.
Right. I was steering with a stick in my hand.
Yeah, with a joystick.
Come on. Yeah. Anyway. You got any other topics over there?
No, that's it. So if there's anything you guys want to hear from us, just let us know. Email us. You can also reach the show at studio, STUDIO, at thedrivingstandard.com. that's a good way to kind of inquire about anything generic. We will have swag coming. We're working on a really funny T-shirt right now. We're going to have some stickers available. But if you guys want to hear a topic on the show, just shoot us an email. That's what we're here to do. Let us know what you like, what you don't like. Preferably that you like Bryan and don't like Matt and Mike.
Yeah.
And then we're going to start live streaming episodes as well. Or maybe not live stream. I shouldn't say that.
I don't know. Speak for yourself.
Maybe we'll just wear GoPros on our head.
Like cops.
Yeah, like cops, especially in this neighborhood. It'll be.
Oh, that's a good point. We do need to get to our cars.
We'll do
we
a
get
whole
shot.
episode just invading that thing down the street, whatever.
Don't talk about Bryan's mom that way.
Oh, there you go.